Okay, question 15. Continuing on, so we've got this here. You've got the function g of x is this thing here. Okay, it's an exponential where you don't know what a and b are, but there's some numbers, constants, and these are main. So the range of which it's valid for x is between -1 and 2, as you can see. Point P is 0.5, and point Q is over here, which is 1/3/2 on the points here. Find the range of the function. Now, to find the range, right, basically, we're going to be plugging in, the range is like the set of y values for which it's valid. Now, to do that, you're going to go and put -1 into g of x and 2 into g of x, but the issue is you don't know what a and b are. So basically, right, you've got to go and plug in the x value -1 into this, but again, you don't know what b and x are, so you can't really do too much. And you want to go and plug in the biggest value of x, which is 2. Okay, that's what the domain is between, 1 and 2. But again, you don't know what the value of a and b are, so not looking very useful so far. But they give you these points here, which you can put into this. And now g of x really, right, just means y. It's just function notation. Okay, so that 0 is the x-coordinate, that's the y-coordinate, that's the x, that's the y-coordinate. Let's just go and plug in these values into this. Okay, so by beginning with point P, putting it into the equation, y is equal to 1/2, so a half is equal to a times b, so a times by b, and x is equal to 0. Now that's really useful because anything's power of 0 is just 1, so that would just mean that will just be 1 over there, so just be left with a, therefore a must be equal to 1/2. That's your a value. And do the same sort of thing with q. Okay, so y is going to be equal to 3/2, and that's equal to a times b, so a, which you now know is a half, so you've got a half times by b to the power of x, and x is just 1. That's really useful, so that's just going to be b still. So to go and find b, you just go and do 3/2 divided by a half, which is the same thing as timesing through by 2/1. Keep flip change, which is 6/2, which is 3. So b is equal to 3. So now you know, right, up here, you're going to put in -1 into a times by b, so you've got a half times by b, which is 3 to the power of -1. Okay, so that's going to go to a half times by 1/3, which is 1/6. So you're sort of saying you are saying when x is -1, you're going to get a y value over here of a sixth. Okay, so that's like the y value over here. And then similarly for this one, it's going to get a bit cramped, isn't it? That's going to go to a half times by b, which is again 3, and x is 2. So you've got a half times by 3 squared, which is going to be 3 squared is 9, half of 9 is 4.5. Okay, so a bit messy, sorry, but that's a sixth, and that's 4.5. So to make it a bit clearer, you are saying when x is -1, you have a y value of a sixth. That's when the graph begins for y, and similarly when x is 2, you get a y value of 4.5. So the range, the range you would go and say like this is going to be y, or we should go and say g of x, because it's given in function notation, must be bigger than or equal to a sixth. Okay, so 1/6 must be less than or equal to the 4.5. It's going to be in between these y values here. So bigger than a sixth, less than 4.5. And that should be the answer, unless I've made a mistake somewhere. That should be good. Okay, that was quite a nice question, actually. So question 15? Question 15 is a sixth and 9/2. Yeah, looking good. Okay, perfect. You could have written 4.5 as 9/2, but I left it as a decimal. In fact, because I've written the first number as a fraction, do the same thing over here. So it's going to write the 4.5 as 9/2. It means exactly the same thing. I'm just being a bit picky there. Yeah, good stuff. Okay, question 16. This here, right, if something is a factor of a polynomial, the factor theorem states that, well, basically you kind of put that equal to 0 and you're going to go and say that x is going to be equal to 3/2. So if this is a factor, then we can go and say that when you put 3/2 into this, it should be equal to 0. Anyway, right, that's not what it's even asking for. Right, if this is a factor, that means you can divide it nicely. So you're saying 2x minus 3 will go into your polynomial 6x cubed minus 25x squared plus 28x plus 6. Now, this is polynomial division, which I'm going to assume you've sort of seen before. Now, you're sort of saying, well, how many 2x's go into 6x cubed? Well, you can get 3 of them into to get you to 6, and you've got x squared to get you up. And you can double check it. 2x by 3x squared does give you 6x cubed. You then go and take the minus 3 and times it by 3x squared, which is minus 9x squared. And then the way that you do this is you go and subtract this stuff here. Now, these should always cancel out to give you 0. And minus 25x squared take away minus 9x squared will give you minus 25 plus 9, which is minus 16x squared. And then you bring down this next part down here. So you've got the plus 28x over here. And then you think, well, 2x times by what gives you minus 16x squared? And it's going to be minus 8x. You can always double check it. 2 times 8, 16, x times by x, x squared. Good. And you go and do minus 3 times by minus 8x, which is plus 24x. So it's going to go to minus 16x squared plus 24x. And you go and take these away, which will just give you with 4x. And then you bring down the 6 over here. Okay, so it's going to be plus 6. And then you think, well, 2x times by what gives you 4x? Just 2. And hopefully, if all goes well, this should give you minus 3 times by 2, gives you minus 6. So we get to 4x and then minus 6. If we take these away, oh, I made a mistake somewhere, because that gives you 12. What have I done here? It's probably something silly. That's fine. That's fine. 4x. Oh, I just see something not bad at all. That is a minus 6. So that should be minus 6. So this should be minus 6. Nothing crazy. That should be a minus 6 down here. And then if you take these away, that does give you 0. Good. Therefore, you can write this expression here, this polynomial, as 2x minus 3 times this up here. So it's going to do that in blue. So this is going to be equal to, or identical to, 2x minus 3 bracket 3x squared minus 8x plus 2. And you want to solve this so when it's equal to 0. Now basically, right, so you've got 2x minus 3. You then want to go and factorize. This is a quadratic that you can factorize, okay? So let's go and put it into double brackets. Now, if the first part here is what does factorize? In fact, let's go and write it out first. So I'm just thinking because the question says exact values. This could be one hell of a question, actually. Minus 8x plus 2 is equal to 0. Now, I'm just thinking, because it says exact values, right, this won't factorize. We're going to have to go and use the quadratic formula here. So let's do that. So this here, let's go and whack out the quadratic formula. So x is minus b plus minus the root of b squared. Take away 4ac over 2a, where a is 3, b is minus 8, and c is 2. So let's just quickly work through this. So x will be 8 plus minus the root b squared, which is going to be 64, minus 4 times 3 times 2, which will be minus 24, over 2 times by a, which is 3, which will give you 6. So therefore, x will be equal to 8 plus root 64 minus 24 is root 40 over 6 is one solution, and x will be equal to 8 minus root 40 over 6. Now we can simplify this, can't we? Root 40 is 4 root 10. This is a big question. I'm actually going to go and rewrite. I'm going to write it up here, guys. I've run out of room. So now x is equal to 8 root 40. You can write as root 4 times root 10, which is 2 root 10. Okay, over 6. Now you can actually use a calculator. I'm working through this manually. Now you can go and divide through by 2 here. So divide through by 2, so that's going to give you 4 plus root 10 over 3. And then the other one is 8. Now root 40 again is 2 root 10, so minus 2 root 10 over 6. And again, just go and divide everything through by 2 on those parts. So that's going to go to 4 minus root 10 over 3. Right, is that going to be correct? So the solutions are, right, you've also got this one down here, where x will be equal to 3 over 2. So you've got answers x is going to be equal to 3 over 2. You've got x is 4 plus root 10 over 3. You've got also x is 4 minus root 10 over 3. I have a feeling I've made a mistake somewhere. Question 16. Question 16. Question 16. Oh no, I think we're good. Right, so mark scheme. We've got 3 over 2 is the first one. Good. And then 4 plus root 10 over 3. And 4 minus root 10 over 3. Okay, cool. Now you could have written this as 4 over 3 plus 10 root 10 over 3, but they mean all the same thing. That is quite, for 4 marks, that's a hard question. Really harsh. Right, because you have to do polynomial division, right, to get to this part here. You couldn't factorize that easily. It's used a quadratic formula, which then left you with surds. It was just quite a big question. Anyway, that is correct, so that's fine. Right, should we leave it here? Let's leave it here for the time being, because I spent a lot of time on that question. So, that is it for the next part. We'll go on to question 17 on the next video. Thank you.